In today's video, I'm going to talk about how we can support parents who deal with children with separation anxiety when leaving them with a babysitter. So stay tuned. Hey sitters, welcome back to another video. It is Lydia. Thanks for joining me. And in today's video, we're going to do a little deep dive into how we can help and support parents who deal with children with separation anxiety. Separation anxiety is basically when a person fears that when something or somebody leaves them, it'll never come back. They'll never come back. Most of the time, 90% of the time, this is going to be seen in families of first-time parents and children who are only children. So first and foremost, I want you to go in as a babysitter who is helping support and give advice to these families and not judge. Parents are parenting at the best they can, to the best of their knowledge, and with us going in and judging them is not going to help. So, suggestions. I think the biggest way that you can go in and suggest something to a parent without it coming from a judgmental place is by sending them articles on the subject. So for some of my families, I have sent articles on separation anxiety and how to deal with kids with separation anxiety. Therefore, I am sending them an article that they can read up on in their own spare time, that they can take or leave. Some of these parents will not take your advice. They will not take advice from anybody else, and that is fine. All we can do is support them. So give them the advice. They can take it or leave it. So third-party articles are always a good option, but I also think that as a babysitter, you can also use the phrase of, in my experience, or over the 4 years I've been working with children, I've seen that this works best in most cases. I know you're probably thinking that you're 16, 17-year-old, you can't go in and suggest or give advice to families. You can, if you have the experience, if you have the knowledge, and if you have the credibility. Let them know you've been watching trainings on babysitting and have found that this has worked for other people. You can read up on articles yourself and take that knowledge and apply it to them or suggest it to them. So there's things you can do that will make you credible, but judging is not one of them. So I think there's a lot there that you can do and say. And again, they may take it, they may not, and you just have to be okay with that. So the best way I have found to work with children with separation anxiety, first things first, make sure that you're talking to the parents about meeting them beforehand, so that you can understand what this child is into, what they like. You can put a babysitting bag together before you actually babysit for them. There's a lot you can do there if you're meeting with the child beforehand and mom and dad aren't leaving. Consistency is key, so making sure and suggesting that they have the same babysitter coming in and working with this child so that that separation anxiety not goes away, but is not as bad. So if you suggest that if you're just a stand-in, then obviously that's different. But if these families are using 5 different sitters and they just book you whenever, I think that really is hard on the child, so consistency is key. Then I also have found that if you and the child leave the house, so for example, you take a walk or go to the park, you guys are leaving mom and dad. Mom and dad aren't leaving you guys, right? So if you are out of the house and they say their goodbyes and we walk away and we come back and they're not there, I think that is a lot better than when the parents say their goodbyes and leave, because that can look like an abandonment, right, to the child. So if we walk out and we go to the park, I think that is a better situation. Now, that's not always the case. That can't always happen. Sometimes it's 6 o'clock at night and we need to do dinner, bath, bed, and so on and so forth. So walking is not always an option. Getting out is not always an option. So that I make sure that I'm engaged. I have things that in my babysitting bag that I can pull out and really work with them on. Sometimes that doesn't even help. and you just need to hold them and comfort them. Their feelings are valid. Separation anxiety, it's not a made up, it's a real true fear to these kids. So understanding and acknowledging that, but also making sure that the parents acknowledge that fear as well. They can't just brush it off. They can't just say, you need to stop crying. They need to acknowledge that fear and make sure that they're truly preparing the child beforehand. Hey, so-and-so is coming over to babysit. I remember you played with them last time and you had so much fun. You still may feel a little scared when we leave, but just know that we are going to be back and we're going to have a great time when we come back and see you. So acknowledging that fear, but also preparing them for that fear before you even arrive. My biggest no-no, and I try to tell parents this all the time, I've had 13 years of experience. I've worked with every age group. I've worked with multiple different children in that age group with different levels of separation anxiety, and I found that walking away or sneaking away without saying a goodbye is the worst thing you could do for a child. It just builds distrust between the child and the parents, and there will be even more separation anxiety the next time around. So whether it's them in the living room leaving to go to the kitchen, that child will never know if they're just going to the kitchen or if they're going to completely walk out of that house and not come back. So always suggest, make sure that you're saying goodbye and that you're not sneaking out, because that can be a lot more hurtful to the child than if they were to just say a quick goodbye. I had a family, a father and a son, and the son dealt with a really, really bad separation anxiety, but I wasn't there during that time. I actually came in after they dealt with the separation anxiety and had it under control. And the dad said the biggest thing that helped him was their goodbyes, their quick, short, sweet goodbyes. They did a hug, a fist bump, and a kiss, and they were done. That was his goodbye, and he left, and he did not come back for any reason. Even if the child was screaming, if the boy was screaming at the top of his lungs, he knew that he was safe with who he left him with, he trusted who he left him with, and that they would work it out and figure it out. But coming back and prolonging that goodbye was the worst thing that he said he was doing for his child. So quick, sweet, short goodbye, and then get out of here. No sneaking away, no prolonging the goodbyes. One of the best things that you can do for the parents, not so much the child, but for the parents, is to actually give them a text update and say, hey, so-and-so has finally calmed down. She's having a great time. We're enjoying our time together. I hope you have a great dinner. Or something along those lines, so that the parent is not wondering for the rest of the night if their child has ever calmed down or if she's still screaming her head off or if she's still crying. So giving a text update is always helpful as well. I do that all the time for most of my parents, for a lot of my parents actually, just to let them know, like, hey, just a nice check-in. We're doing great. Hope you guys are doing having a good time or whatever. So separation anxiety can be hard on the child, but also very difficult on the parent because they are trying to do what's best for their child. They don't want their child to be in pain or feel hurt or cry. And it is very difficult to walk away from a child who's crying and screaming that they want you to stay and they don't want you to leave. Again, so no judgment, just suggestions and support, because it can be very difficult on both parties, both the parents and the child. If you guys have any questions, please let me know down in the comment section below. If you haven't yet already, hit that subscribe button so you can continue along to get great tips and tricks on how to become a better babysitter. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.